Digital CxO, and I'm excited to be here today with Adityo Prakash. He is the CEO of Verseon, which is a pharmaceutical company. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Amanda. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here on our show. So what is Verseon and what pharmaceuticals do you provide or work on?
Verseon is a new generation of pharmaceutical company. We are changing how completely new medicines get designed, developed in the world, what we can treat, and how well we treat them. There are so many major human diseases, from heart disease, cancers, diabetes, all kinds of things, right, that affect all of us who live in the modern world and our loved ones. And if you ask anyone, they'd say they'd love to get better and better treatments than what exists today, right? How do these new medicines come about? We see sometimes great articles on newspapers saying, here is a brilliant breakthrough in understanding some disease. If you read the subtext and they read the fine print, it says, oh, this might become a treatment in 20 years. And, and emphasis being on might, right? How about changing that where we can get new medicines at a steady pace that fundamentally change how well we treat diseases, how well we prevent and delay them, right? So that's what Verseon is all about. We design drugs on the computer, atom by atom, completely novel drugs that you cannot find with any other current method, okay, including AI-based methods. And then we make them in the laboratory. We carry them to testing. We use AI to optimize their properties further, and out come these drugs that have uniquely desirable therapeutic profiles. Drugs that prevent heart attacks and strokes with almost no bleeding risk, which is unthinkable in the current, scenario. Drugs that will prevent any diabetic related organ damage that people go through, and not have diabetes lose their vision and their kidneys and other things like those. Cancer treatment, where chemotherapy drugs that don't fall prey to drug resistance, and on it goes. These are things that are only possible with the latest, greatest advancements in technology and AI coming together. And so that's what we do.
So what I hear is that you're very innovative in your methods, and you're looking at how can you improve and make new drugs that are going to help change the world. And you brought up AI. That's a big topic today, and it seems to be just advancing rapidly. So can you speak to AI, and how is AI useful in this industry?
That's a good question. Now, the industry is obviously very large with different aspects to it. So sometimes people confuse different topics and put them all together. But I will specifically address the part that's most relevant to what we do. And at the same time, it's also the part that relates to most of our lives, the so-called small molecule medicines, the things that you can take as pills. Right? That's the bread and butter business of modern medicine. Those things, you are trying to design completely new medicines to treat diseases better, treat the ones that we still can't treat. There, AI is useful, but not in the same way that people think it might be. It's not some magic wand that you can wave and things get done. AI has certain specific utilities there. There is a lot of talk now how it's going to change everything in new small molecule drug discovery. But the way AI works is you need to feed it a lot of data, and then it can predict something similar, right? For instance, ChatGPT, you train it on everything that on the web, and it can it can predict the next word, by looking at the last 1,000 it has created, etc. Great, but it's not going to create a completely new language for you, right? The new creating a new language is still up to the humans. Yes. So when it comes to AI use by training it on existing data, what we're seeing is that all the companies that are doing that, they're actually coming up with drugs that are small little tweaks on existing drugs, because that's what the AI has been trained on. Exactly what you'd expect, like the language example I gave. But imagine when you marry it with other technologies that are just, in many ways, just as hard or even harder to develop. Okay, you are doing CAD/CAM, computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing type of, but at the atomic level. Okay, to design completely new drug structures, atom by atom, that have never been made before. This is not something AI can do for you. This is something where you have to have fundamental advancements in molecular physics to actually build these tools. But you do those and you construct new structures. Now, if you can also make them in the lab, if your system is capable enough, like ours is, to be able to actually make them in the lab, then you can turn them into real lab data on these fundamentally novel drug-like molecules. Feed that to your own AI tools that are now getting data that nobody else has. And it can learn from that and help modify these kinds of molecules further to improve their properties. Yes? So when you combine multiple of these scientific and technological breakthroughs together, you get amazing new developments in medicine. And that's what we have been systematically building over the last 2 decades.
So what you're saying is AI can't just be left alone to go and create a bunch of new medicines or a different kind of way of treating a health problem. It takes the human entering new data, and then you can use the AI as an automation tool.
Correct. It needs the human and other kinds of scientific and technological developments that humans have to do to generate the data that AI can then work on.
And then once you've generated that data and AI comes in as a great tool to speed up that whole process and to read that data in real time and tweak it as needed, correct?
So what AI does afterwards is, if you feed it enough of this data and you use the right AI tools, it can help you say, okay, you made this one drug molecule on the computer through your molecular physics breakthroughs. And look, this guy doesn't get through the gut lining too well. Very little of it's getting absorbed. Or this other guy is getting absorbed but getting chewed up by the liver too quickly. Or many properties like these, right? And the AI can now help you, mix and match these properties and say, okay, how about try making this molecule? Okay, humans could do that too, right? And humans do that, at our lab. But at the same time, AI can help them sort through many, many options much quicker. So AI has real utility there, okay? But it has to be used in the right context. And that can dramatically help speed up the process of how you get to the right final drugs to enter into clinical trials. And then there is a whole new type of AI application, which has nothing to do with the things we were just discussing. Now you can collect all of the human clinical data and use AI to help personalize the drugs that you're advancing through clinical trials. If you're entering multiple candidates through trials, you can say, oh, drug A, look, is working better for this patient population versus drug B, based on all of the data you're feeding to AI. But remember, there, AI is being used in an entirely different context. You're collecting as much data as you can from all these patients. Knowing at the same time, some of these predictions with AI have to be then still vetted and validated, right? Just because AI says, this is working doesn't, for this patient population, may not mean that it's truly the case, because often even there, the AI may not have all of the possible data to really rule out any possibilities of errors. However, it is certainly very, very helpful and useful. Remember, in healthcare settings, which is a completely different arena than what we were discussing in development of new medicines, AI has fantastic applications. We're all extremely excited about it, at Verseon and everywhere else in the healthcare space. You hear that from people. But there is a reason, for instance, still, AI hasn't completely replaced radiologists, right? AI reads radiology images probably better than most, radiologists. But so far, we're still occasionally getting situations where AI makes corner case mistakes. So you need a doctor to, verify when it calls something as very serious or problematic or not, because you got tripped up by some speck of dust on the image. So these, over time, I think we will, resolve and fix. But and as things progress, it's only going to be great for humanity as that happens. But we're not quite there yet. But going back to development of new medicines, this is an arena where many different technologies need to come and work hand in hand together to actually make the advancements. And that's what we build at Verseon.
Fantastic. So how many other pharmaceutical companies are actually trying to utilize AI and other emerging technologies as a tool in their processes?
Almost every pharma company on the planet now, uses AI in its process because nobody wants to be left behind. And this is clearly the buzzword of the day that you must try to use. But the thing is, how well are they using it? If you look at use of AI across all different industries, only in certain specific situations and in certain fields, and within those fields, even some companies and not others use it really, really well. Others are using it. Maybe they're getting some benefit out of it, but not nearly the way that it could be done, right? And this is where the difference comes in. Everybody is using AI. The question is how well and what are the right ways to use it. That's where I think companies sort of separate out into the ones that will be the winners long term versus the ones that are just also rans.
So having said that, in your view, what are some solutions? What are the roadblocks as to why they're not fully utilizing it? And what are some solutions?
The arena of drug discovery, the roadblocks are the fact that you're shackled to old legacy data, and you only have a small amount of it on the number of drug-like molecules people have so far made and tested. To go back to really providing this example in context, the total number of distinct chemical structures humanity has made over the last 100 plus years is about 7 million, definitely much less than 10, okay, that we are testing to collect data on what these things do for various diseases, etc. And we can feed that to AI. Total number of actual makeable drug-like structures is 10 to the 33, one with 33 zeros. So now compare 7 or 8 million to one with 33 zeros. That's a billion, trillion, by the way. You realize we're not fishing in a tide pool by the side of an ocean. We're fishing in a tiny little droplet. And as a result, the data you're collecting is restricted to the droplet. And maybe you can, tweak things around that droplet a little bit better. Maybe you can even skirt the edges of that droplet and do something slightly different and slightly new. But most of that stuff in that uncharted chemical ocean remains unexplored. So that is the problem with just, saying AI only, AI first, based on current data, I'm going to change everything. You can repurpose existing drugs using AI, which is useful. But remember, I said existing drugs. Wouldn't you really like to have those drugs of the future that have amazingly good properties that Star Trek style, anything happens to you, you go to your doctor and they give you these 3 pills, tell you to report back in, a few weeks and you're done. We all know how far we are from that vision of the future, right? How do we get there? AI is only one part of the solution set. You need all of these other things. You need the CAD/CAM tools at the atomic level to design completely new things that only belong in that uncharted chemical ocean that you don't have data on yet. You need to be able to construct them. You need to be able to generate the data on them and then feed it to AI. And then your AI only keeps getting better.
So what is the timeline? When you talk about that, it sounds to me that that's a pretty lengthy timeline to get there.
Yes, if you had to make every single one of those and test them, it'll take you longer than the lifetime of the universe, okay? To even make a reasonable dent will probably take you thousands of years. So obviously there needs to be some shortcut. And the shortcut is, again, back to computers, but not necessarily AI. Today, everybody calls everything AI, but it's not. It's actually being able to do these atomic level designs, based on the molecular physics. So if you can do that, then you don't necessarily have to make and test them, which takes months to years to do each one of these. You can shortcut all of that. Use computers to generate the new data, because you are simply designing these molecules virtually on the computer. Knowing when you actually need to make them, you can make them because your system spits out the recipes for making them. This changes the game. You don't have to make and test everything. You only test the ones that your computer-based atomic level design says, this is good for this particular disease-causing protein. Go make this one. And that one is useless. Don't bother, right? So when you can do that, that cuts out most of the stuff that you don't otherwise make and waste your time on. Make sense?
Got it. So the pharmaceutical industry has only hit on a tiny, tiny portion of what is possible, which is probably a ways out in the future, but it's interesting to think about where we could be down the road for sure.
Indeed. And it has direct implications on your and my lives and everybody else that we, in our friends and family, okay? And getting there, incredibly important for us as society. And with the tools that we were just describing, we can really do that. It can dramatically speed things up. And we have shown in just the last 4.5, 5 years with the 16 different drug candidates that we have developed, okay, and we're just getting started, what is really possible. And every single one of these drug programs we're developing, the drug candidates we have in them, they hold the promise of completely changing the standard of care for the diseases they address because of how unique their therapeutic profiles are. And only way you get there is by exploring that uncharted chemical ocean of possibilities, not by just exploring the same well-trodden pool of that tiny dot like you mentioned.
Wow. Well, thank you for coming on our show and clarifying that and sharing your insights with us today.
Amanda, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.